Namaskar and welcome to Changemakers. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Agriculture has always been central to human civilization and a way of life in India. With population rise, limited resources, and climate change impact, the challenges have increased many folds for our farmers. But help is at hand. Today, let's talk about moving towards sustainable agriculture. Agriculture is a complex activity. A farmer has to keep a tab on many variables, from quality of soil and seed to use of pesticide and water. Add to that the vagaries of climate change, and once the crop is ready, getting a good price for it in the market. The problems become even bigger for small-scale farmers. Also remember, how agriculture is done has a great bearing on the health of the planet as well. Our changemakers are empowering farmers and making agriculture sustainable. They are helping small-scale farmers with unique greenhouse solutions. They are using cutting-edge tools of AI and IoT to make precision farming possible. That and much more. Here's their story. India is a global agricultural powerhouse, but the challenges facing the sector are also many. Small land holdings, market access, impact of climate change, among others. Our changemakers are helping mitigate these hurdles and bring in transformative innovations to empower the farmers. Our first changemaker is Kheti from Hyderabad. Kheti was founded in 2015 by Soumya, Satyaraghu Mokapati, Kaushik Kapagantulu and Ayush Sharma with a mission to reduce the impact of climate change on smallholder farmers. Kheti is trying to change the story by reducing climate risk and increasing yields with a greenhouse in a box. Kheti has developed a simple solution that is already having considerable impact. Greenhouse in a box is designed for smallhold farmers and the crops they grow, offering shelter from unpredictable elements and destructive pests. Kheti also trains and supports farmers to ensure their greenhouse is as effective as possible. The results are dramatic. Plants in the greenhouse require 98% less water than those outdoors, and yields are 7 times higher. 90% cheaper than standard greenhouse, they are more than doubling farmers' incomes, helping them invest more in their farms and their children's education. Using less water and fewer pesticides, they are protecting the planet as well. Today, 3,000 farms have a Kheti greenhouse across 7 states of India. By 2028, Kheti wants 100,000 farmers to have a greenhouse in a box. This is just the beginning. The enterprise aims to help 1 million farmers within 10 years and ignite the smart farmer revolution. Kheti has won the prestigious Earthshot Award 2022 for their innovation. Our next changemaker is Fasal from Bengaluru. Founded by Shailendra Tiwari and Ananda Verma in 2018, Fasal is a pioneer of precision farming and is an IoT-based AI-powered intelligence platform for horticulture crops. It captures real-time data on conditions from on-farm sensors to deliver farm-specific, crop-specific and crop stage-specific actionable recommendations to the farmers. Fasal's innovation revolves around a system and device that facilitates determination of soil properties. It has also created a device that measures atmospheric parameters in specific areas of interest. Specific intelligence is delivered to farmers in vernacular languages through the Fasal app. Fasal's intervention is not limited to helping farmers grow better. Under the Fasal Fresh brand, the enterprise procures farm produce to secure the best market rates for farmers. In the process, bridging the gap between farms and urban households. Fasal collaborates with farmers across 13 states, overseeing and enhancing over 75,000 acres of farmland, encompassing more than 15 diverse crops. Farmers are celebrating yield increases up to 30%. Alongside empowering farmers, Fasal innovations are helping protect the environment as well, helping save over 23 billion litres of water and reducing pesticide use by 110,000 kilograms. Fasal's sustainable farming practices have helped avoid the release of over 10,000 metric tons of greenhouse gases. Fasal has won a number of awards in recognition, including the prestigious National Startup Award 2022. What unique innovations in action? Let's now meet our change makers, learn more about their work and vision. This is Changemakers. Let me welcome Kaushik Kapagantulu, co-founder Kheti from Hyderabad, and Anand Verma, co-founder Fasal from Bengaluru. We learned about your amazing innovations. Welcome to Changemakers.
Great to be here. Thank you for having us.
Great. First, I'd like to learn from you about your assessment of the direction or directions in which agriculture sector in the country, in India, is headed towards, and what is the role of new innovations in making sustainable future possible? Ananda, if I can begin with you.
Definitely, Subhendu. I think innovation in agriculture is actually playing a very crucial role towards a sustainable future. And again, if you look at probably last 30, 40 years, most of the innovation that has happened in this sector has happened primarily on input side or machinery side. So you had tractor, now you have better tractors. You had sprayers, now you have better sprayers. You had input products, now you have better input products. But if you look at last probably 10 years, you will see there is a drastic involvement of information technology and other aspects of technology into agriculture, like precision agriculture, drones, biological in terms of inputs. So these are some of the innovation that is taking place and shaping the entire agriculture industry. Also, if you look at in a very broader way as well, not just technological innovation, but also there are a lot of practices that is changing the entire landscape, specifically into agriculture towards sustainability, is your organic farming, regenerative farming. People are talking about it. People are talking about how they can lower the carbon footprint through farming as an activity, because farming is one of the primary contributor to it. Apart from that, if you look at innovation coming from biotechnology as a sector, earlier there were a lot of innovation that has happened which involved more and more chemicals, but these days in last 4 to 5 years you will see there's a lot of innovation happening on more products coming into a biological input sector, which does not involve harmful chemicals, and at the same time provides more benefit to crops, improve the yield, improve the productivity, improve the quality as well. So overall, these advancements help create a more resilient and more sustainable future for all of us. And it is also a need of time, because the availability of land is limited, the availability of resources are limited. So unless you change the way you're doing things, you'll not be able to basically sustain for a longer time. And these are very welcoming innovation that is happening in the industry.
Yeah, and I agree with a lot of points that Ananda made, but if I just sort of summarize it from my perspective, I would say that I think agriculture sector has shifted from being focused on, if I had to wear a little bit of a math hat, single variable optimization to multivariable optimization. And I'll explain what that means. Is that, is the problems for us as a country for agriculture have remained the same, right? 85% of farmers own less than 5 acres of land. Those farmers, as per the last NSSO survey, lost money from agriculture and had to make sure that they did, agri labor or something else to make ends meet. So those problems haven't really significantly changed, and we don't have new problems. But what we realize is that those problems have layers. And we were originally saying, let's just increase yields more and more, with better fertilizer, better sprayers. I think Ananda mentioned this, or better technology, and would be okay. we realized that climate change now changes the whole game. Even environmental degradation changes the whole game. If you only increase yields, you will ruin soils, which means you don't have a long-term agriculture in front of you. If you don't solve for the fact that the heat is increasing, pests are increasing, rain is getting more erratic, you don't have any short-term answers. So I think we realize that people's health is important, from agriculture. If you only focus on fertilizer, people's health gets ruined. So I think innovation in agriculture is looking at the problem multivariable optimization lens, that we can't solve one problem, we have to solve 10 problems at once. And that's where I think, all of us have come into this board, saying that we can't solve one problem, we have to do it in a holistic way and take agriculture in India to the next phase of its existence.
Right. And if you talk about your individual enterprises, let's first talk about Kheti. Kaushik, I learned that during your research, you traveled across the country, particularly observed the condition of small-scale farmers. What were your learnings and how did it shape your innovation?
Yeah. So I think Kheti's journey and my journey starts with that, really what I call this apprenticing with the problem. I didn't grow up as a farmer. I'm not from a farming family. I grew up in Hyderabad and had a middle class, comfortable livelihood and life, right? But so the first 5 years of my career were spent in rural India, traveling across 14 states of India, in working with school dropouts, helping them get access to some sort of livelihoods. But is that time that I really realized that, vocational training or livelihood building for youth cannot be disconnected from agriculture, because, most of India depends on agriculture, and this youth didn't have a livelihood because agriculture was not working. That's when I think just before starting Kheti, me and my co-founders, we took time off, spent almost a year talking to almost 1,000 farmers one-on-one. We became farmers ourselves. We worked in the fields to really understand what is this problem we need to solve before we can think about a solution. Because, you can have many solutions in front of you, but you need to know what the problem is. And I think that's where for the smallholder farmer, we realize that, you work hard all year long, but you have no control over your incomes because heat, rain, pests, hail, all these external factors decide whether you succeed or fail, not your hard work. And that's where our mission, which is to make farmers' hard work pay, by making them climate resilient, really came about.
Right. And Kaushik, if you could simplify your innovation for us, how does the unique green box help farmers, and how do you also customize it to their respective needs?
Right. So we call our solution the greenhouse in a box, which is basically a greenhouse is, not rocket science. The same way we protect ourselves as human beings from the elements by having a house, you can build a house for plants, but obviously it can't be the same house we have because plants need light, they need air, they need pollination, all of that. So a greenhouse is a steel structure covered by different kinds of covering materials, which helps protect crops from different kind of external risks. So we have pest netting, which reduces pest attacks. We have polyethylene sheets, which reduce from extreme rain. We have shade netting, which reduces the heat in the summer. And we have drip irrigation, which makes farmers use lesser water. So, but greenhouses are not new. I mean, they've been around for decades, if not centuries. So what we do is we've made a modular, low-cost greenhouse for smallholder farmers. It starts small at about 2,500 square feet, which means that farmers can start small and grow over time. Also, it's lower cost. It's about 90% lower than other alternatives available in the market. And then we bundle with that training, advisory, and market intelligence and inputs so that farmers can use the greenhouse in the right way, rather than it just being a technology that they, that are given and they don't know how to use. So that's what the whole package is called.
That's very interesting, Kaushik. And how's been your experience of engaging with farmers, you taking your innovation to them and then adapting it to their needs?
Yeah, I think the experience is sort of mirrors what we started out our journey as, is that, it takes a lot of, there's a big challenge, there's a need, but of climate resilience in smallholder farmers. But to really convert that into demand, you need to build trust, because smallholder farmers have seen so many different kinds of innovations come in. They don't know whether it works, it's expensive. So I think our real work over the last few years has been that, right? And it has been about first proving the model with some early adopters so that farmers see that and get excited about it. It has been working with other NGOs and partners who have worked with farmers already to use that trust. It's about awareness building. So I think it took us a lot of initial time in each of the regions we worked in to break that initial trust barrier. But once you do that, you then can go deep. So now in some regions, we've been around for 2 to 3 years. now it's almost like viral. As every season, there's a bigger set of farmers who come up and sign up. So I mean, that's been the experience. But overall, the need exists, and once farmers see it over a season, that's when that trust gets created and gets converted into demand.
It's great to learn about the work done by Khethi Kaushik. Let's now talk about Fasal. Ananda, I'll come to you. I understand that you put to use cutting-edge technologies like AI, IoT to make precision farming accessible to farmers. How did the idea of Fasal come about?
So, Fasal is really a result of my own experiment with agriculture. Though I come from a farming family, my father is a farmer. My entire family is a farmer family. I am the first engineer in my family. But the realization first happened that there is, so understanding about issues was always there, but the realization and the depth of problem, I got to know when I failed in my own experiment of growing capsicum. And when I actually retrospected and looked back why it happened, because I thought I have all the necessary information to grow successfully grow a crop. But despite having all that knowledge, information, connect, and coming from farming family, I still failed. I think that was the moment when I realized that there is a fundamental problem in understanding the issue itself. And I think that was the moment when I realized that while farmers are in one way or the other doctors, they try to understand their crops, they try to protect their crops, they try to nurture and grow their crops. I think the missing piece is there is no way for them to understand and measure what their crop really needs. It's like a doctor without a stethoscope. So farmers are already doctors. What they really need is a stethoscope, and that is exactly what they don't have today. They are not able to measure what their crop, or they're not able to understand in very precisely what their crop really needs, and that's where most of the farmers fail. That's where I failed, and that realization helped me create Fasal, create this technology to better understand how or what your crop really needs, and in what quantity, in what manner, and when, and that's how Fasal was created.
Right, Ananda, that's interesting. And these advanced technologies that you work with are advanced for anyone to understand and connect with. How do the farmers connect with these technological interventions and data-driven farming, really? How do they connect with the whole setup?
So to really understand this question, Subindu, I think the first thing that we have to understand is about farmer itself. So there are basically two categories of farmer, what we call it. One category is progressive farmer, one category is not so progressive. We categorize farmer into progressive farmer, those who grow crops like vegetable and fruits, or in general, what we call horticulture. So agriculture is a very broader segment. Horticulture is a segment of agriculture where farmers are growing fruits and vegetables, and these are not easy crops to grow. They require your 100% attention. They require you to manage. They require higher risk taking. Versus if you look at the other category of crop, wherein if a farmer is growing paddy or wheat, it does not really require that kind of attention. You can just flood your paddy field, and you're still okay with it. But you cannot flood your entire chili crop or tomato crop, because it can just damage the entire crop or entire yield or entire quality itself. So at one end, all these farmers who fall into the category of horticulture farmer, or what we call progressive farmer, they already understand the need of, or they already know how to manage environmental conditions like temperature and humidity for their crop. They already know that water, every drop of water is important. Chili requires a different irrigation pattern versus tomato versus, let's say, a grape. And understanding this is already there. It is just that there is no right way to measure it in a real-time basis. So when we started, I think the understanding was already there. It was just that there was no method, or there was no sort of instrument, or there was no stethoscope for them to measure it. And that's exactly what we did. So when we started, the adoption was not a challenge. It is still not a challenge. I think the challenge, or what we really need, is more and more awareness. Farmers who are growing horticulture crops, they already understand the need of data-driven farming. They already know that they have to constantly monitor humidity, temperature, rainfall events. They have to precisely understand the water requirement and irrigate. It is just that they don't Some of them know that there are technologies coming into picture to help them with that. There are still a large chunk of farmers who need to know that such technology exists today and they can adopt it.
Right. It's very interesting. Ananda, also, I learned that you're not just helping farmers grow better, but also sell better. If you could take us through, how does this farm to fork cycle work with farmers?
That is, again, very interesting viewpoints, Subindu. So after helping farmer grow better crop, grow more crop, improve the yield, improve the quality, we also realized that the next problem for a farmer is how to sell it at a fair value, or how to make profit out of it. And that's where we see a big problem exist in India as a country, also because of the land holding pattern. As when Kaushik mentioned, the average land holding in India is roughly around a hectare, which again is a very fragmented space for any buyer to basically directly aggregate from farmer. And thus, there is a level of aggregator exists in the market. There is one level which exists at the village level or taluka level, which aggregates the local produce from farmer, and then there is a aggregator exists at the local mandi level, and then there is another aggregator exists at probably national mandi level, and then there is a buyer. So if you look at from farmer to a final consumer, there are roughly around 5 to 6 people involved into moving produce from farmer to a buyer. Now, it is not just the middleman, which becomes, again, I would not say middleman is a problem or this structure is a problem. The problem really is the operation involved in each and every step. So let's say if let's say if I'm going to a nearby retail store and buying tomato at 100 rupees kg, the farmer is actually getting probably less than 10 rupees, of that 100 rupees. Now, where that 90 rupees has gone, that has gone into moving produce from their farm to the local retail, the local aggregator. It has gone into logistics, it has gone into packaging, it has gone into, and then there is also wastage shrinkage that happens, and it happens at every level. So every level, the cost of produce increases, and that's where the problem happens. That in India, it is not really easy to build a very robust and sustainable supply chain for fruits and vegetables, and that's exactly where Fasal plays a very important role, because by this technology that exists on the farm that monitors the farm 24/7, we have a supply base ready for buyers. So what we do when it comes to Fasal is we generate demand from buyer, and then we look at how that demand can be fulfilled in the most optimized manner. So if I generate a demand, I don't really, I just have to go and look at what are the best locations where this demand could be fulfilled, and thus removing the entire inefficiency in the supply chain. So it becomes now just 1 or 2 level of aggregation, and then the produce reaches to farmer, less wastage, less movement, less cost lost into logistics and packing or repacking, and thus it becomes very beneficial for both farmer as well as buyer. Buyer gets continuous supply of quality produce at their doorstep, and at the same time farmer gets a better value realization. We believe that the more technology adoption will happen for us, the more we will be able to create a very sustainable supply chain for FNB.
Right. Great to learn about the work of Fasal. Now, we understand that a significant section of our population is engaged in agriculture in India, but yet there are also these reports of if the next generation, new generation, the youth is interested in pursuing farming, agriculture, like their family or afresh. Now, what do you think the role that the new innovation, tech interventions plays in revitalizing agriculture and also really engaging the youth in the days ahead to pursue their careers, their work in agriculture? Kaushik, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big problem. I mean, there's been multiple statistics. 75% of farmers, don't want their kids to get into agriculture. I think so. I look at it in 2 ways. One is that there is this perception that agriculture is not for the youth, and obviously technologies like what Fasal is working on and what Kheti is working on changes that perception for youth, because youth want to work on things that are modern and cutting edge in technology and are seen to be seem to be things that are lucrative, right? So that definitely we've seen already, right? All of the farmers we work with, the youth are more engaged because the greenhouse is more fancy. It looks, more fancy. You can work in it. It's cooler, all of that. But I think it's fundamentally comes back to an economics problem. I think that those 75% farmers who were polled, the farmers don't want their kids to get into agriculture because it's not lucrative enough and they don't see a future for it. And if we move agriculture into the new phase of existence, which means that there is a future for it, there is not a subsistence for it, but more importantly, there is a lucrative future for it. I think we'll change the tide, and more youth will get engaged into agriculture because it's their family profession. And that's what I've seen when I was working in the vocational training sector. We would train kids in hospitality, retail, construction, all of that. But they were doing all of that and moving to a city not because they wanted to, but because they didn't have any other option. So as long as we create an option, we will change the tide.
Right. Ananda, you very wonderfully are taking forward the legacy of agriculture, also tech intervention. But what about people around you, the youth? Do they get drawn towards the manner in which agriculture can be modernized and made, as Kaushik mentioned, profitable?
So I think I also fall into that 75 category of people who, despite having a lot of background into agriculture, did not opt for agriculture first, sort of moved away. And I think the primary reason is the same, that as of today, nobody looks at agriculture as the primary or probably it is looked at as the last profession. So if you're not able to do anything else, you will do farming. So घर पे ऐसा बोला जाता है ना, कुछ नहीं करेगा तो खेती करेगा. I think that narrative has to change, and that is what I also see. I think Kaushik also mentioned that is changing now, because more and more youth is coming into creating innovation. More and more people and more youth are coming into adopting agriculture and better practices. They have also realized that agriculture is not the last profession, but agriculture can be the first profession and can help them make a sustainable living. And not just a sustainable living, can help them make a better livelihood. Earlier, the perception was very different, or probably from my time till I started Fasal, it was a very different perception altogether. But now I'm seeing that change is happening everywhere across. That people are looking at if they have a farm, or I'm also seeing that a lot of people who are working with me or have worked with me are actually moving back to agriculture because they have realized that it is actually a very profitable profession. It is, and also I think there is a lot of role that media has to play in terms of changing that narrative. Because today, if I search for Indian farmer in Google, you will get a picture of a naked farmer praying in the field to God in a drought field. But at the same time, if you search for an American farmer, you will get a well-suited, booted farmer with an iPad doing that farming. I think in another 10 to 15 years, we all these new innovations and we as new youth coming into agriculture will change that narrative, will also change that picture. And we also need support from media to change that perception about Indian agriculture. That will eventually help more and more people involve into this profession and also take this profession as the first profession rather than thinking about it as the last profession.
On that note, thank you very much, Kaushik, Ananda, for joining us on Changemakers, sharing your wonderful stories. Our best wishes to your teams.
Thank you so much.
It was great meeting our Changemakers. Their innovations are playing a crucial role in making agriculture sustainable for farmers and the planet. Another important achievement, they are making agriculture lucrative and exciting for the new generation. Now that is some good news for our collective future. Till we meet again, Namaskar.